All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special and informative episode of Speak to the Mic, the podcast show. I am Marlon Joseph. We are here to talk about the many issues that are plaguing our Black communities, creating content, providing information that can help our Black communities, and acknowledging and recognizing those Black men and women as heroes in the local community as it pertains to what they're doing to immediately impact the Black community and be role models in their own right. Before I go any further, I want to make sure I put this disclaimer on this episode as well, that in no way are any of the members any members on this panel are representatives or spokeswomen of their sororities, but they are mere members and very proud members of their organization, speaking from their perspective as it pertains to the many issues that we are dealing with in our Black communities. And we're just giving our perspectives on it. And so for that, I really do greatly appreciate you all for being on the show. So without further ado, let me go into the divine order of which each organization has been founded. We are short one member who actually has some other obligations to have to tend to, so it can't make this particular episode this moment, but we'll keep the show rolling. Start off with Ashley Woods, who's a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Ashley Grandberry, who is a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And Mockia Shelton, aka Nikki, who is a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. Ladies, thank you all for being on the show. I'm glad that you all are were able to make it, and I'm hoping that you guys staying safe and sanitized as we get closer and closer to that finish line when it comes to handling this pandemic. And definitely hope you and your families are continually to stay safe. Really appreciate you all for being on the show. So let's get right to it. I want to start with asking this question in regards to the level of impact that we've actually felt personally when it comes to seeing representation, primarily in the vice presidency seat, with Kamala Harris being sworn in. It's definitely set huge precedents for women and for Black women and just minority women in general when it comes to that. So Ashley Woods, I want to start with you on this question. How much impact has your organization been on you when it comes to your leadership skills as it pertains to applying it to your profession?
Okay, great question. Like I said, I've been a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha for now 15 years. So it's been crazy, but it's been a long time. And to see my soror as the vice president of the United States is an amazing feeling. But like you said, it also set the precedent for just representation, not only in my organization, for little Black and brown girls, women, it just gave us a sense of empowerment. It gave us just confirmation of what we knew we already could do. And I think this is the first of many. So I think me personally, my organization has given me a lot of leadership skills starting out, from undergraduate, being able to hold the office of bacillus in my undergraduate chapter, giving me those leadership skills to be able to speak out, to be able to, stand bold in my efforts to speak out for my organization on behalf of the NPHC and like I said, on my campus, and just giving me the skill sets to those public speaking skills. The motivation to what I think.
I think she's breaking up.
So I conduct business in my career. So member of Alpha.
Okay, can you repeat that last part? Because the last part you kind of went out with the connection. The last part in regards to just your leadership skills in terms of how you've been able to be that leader, even in your respective organization.
Right. I'm sorry, my internet's probably not the best. But yeah, like I said, being able to transfer those skills that I learned within undergrad, within holding the office within our chapter, being able to transfer those skills, 15 years later in my professional career, I contribute, being able to do that by, becoming a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha and becoming active in my chapter and learning those skills early on.
Okay, and I greatly appreciate that too, because the fact that we have seen role models in our respective organizations kind of set the trend for us to kind of follow suit with what they've been doing and being able to create our own footsteps within the footsteps that's been set before us, right? So I do appreciate you for bringing that part up. Ashley, Grandberry, for you to see that Kamala Harris has been on record for definitely accrediting her organization, Alpha Kappa Alpha, to the very leadership skills that she has, obviously grown to adapt and learn, and being able to apply those leadership skills in her profession as it pertains to being the vice president and being sworn in. How much of an impact for you has your organization been when it comes to your leadership skills that you learn in the organization and being able to apply it to your profession?
Well, first and foremost, I think the biggest thing that I have gotten, that I received from being a Delta or being a part of the organization, is organization in itself. Many times when you go into a career or you go into a certain type of field, you have all of these ideas and all of these things that come trickling and pouring out of you that you want to see and follow through and all of those things, but you may not necessarily have the organizational skills in order to make those things come into fruition. Oftentimes, when you go to college, you have different courses and things of that nature, but they don't necessarily equip you with the organizational skills that you'll need in order to complete certain tasks or programs, initiatives, and things like that. And having worked in education for now 12 years, the biggest thing is organization. I don't just hold one position. I have two jobs in education, and my second job, I have a lot more autonomy with the type of things that I want to do. But in order for me to be able to do those things, I have to apply a lot of organizational skills, and it wasn't something that I had prior to becoming a Delta. I was just bursting, like unorganized bursting. With those things, it can make you very exhausted.
Yeah.
Sometimes you feel like there's no end in sight. And Delta was able to give me that. Starting with the end in mind, knowing what you want to do, why is this important to you, and what is it going to do for the greater good. So joining Delta definitely gave me that type of perspective when it comes to anything with my career or anything in general nowadays, even in your personal life. You have to hone things in and be quite organized, or else you'll be lost. You'll be, just burning the candle at both ends. And if it's anything that Deltas can do, it's organize.
Yeah.
If it's anything that Deltas can do, they can organize. So that's the biggest takeaway that I've gotten when it comes down to taking what I've gotten as a member and applying it to my professional realm of life.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what, for organizational skills purposes, right? So that is a paramount of importance that we all have that, regardless of what organization you're in. Having organizational skills and being able to apply in your everyday life as well as your profession does help you go a long way. And it does put you in a position ultimately to where you are a leader in that particular respective occupation and profession. And so I do appreciate you for sharing that and touching bases on that. Nikki, for you, as a Zeta woman, what way has your organization impacted you from a leadership skills perspective when it comes to applying that leadership skills to your organization?
Well, being a Zeta has definitely impacted me in many ways. As far as my leadership skills, it definitely enhanced in ways I couldn't even imagine. One of the reasons I joined the organization was because of the principles of scholarship, service, sisterhood, and being a final woman. So when I saw that that aligned with who I was and who I wanted to continue to progress to be, it fell right in place. So when you tie back to the impact of VP Kamala Harris, that just opened the door. It set the precedence. It was a true example of Black girl magic. And it just let all the brown and Black girls know that, there too is a space for us. Wherever we want to go, whatever we want to do, we can do it. I also agree with Grandberry in regards to organization. It's everything. Another key component of that in leadership is time management. There's always a priority, and you get one priority lined up, and there's another one. And unfortunately, there's always more task than time.
Yep.
I actually sat in a leadership class not too long ago, and do you know they had the nerve to say that there's no such thing as time management? And I thought back onto how many trainings I've actually led through 3 of my positions over my careers, where I taught my coworkers and team members on time management. You know, to me, time management is everything because it's a true example of being all over the place if you don't have that organization. And if you can't put a time and a place with everything, you will be all over. So again, Zeta is everything to me. Like I said, it definitely enhanced my leadership skills. It opened a platform for me to help others. That's that community service and just getting out there and just showing everybody what we're about and how to do it and bringing it in as a home to community.
Yeah, absolutely. And and to expound a little bit on time management, right? Time management consists strongly of deadlines, and every task that you have has a deadline. Now, whether or not you meet that deadline or prior to getting close to that deadline, now you're extending that deadline or at least having that leadership meeting or that team meeting with your team members regarding the deadline. Those different things have to be had and those discussions have to be had in order for you to not be chaotically all over the place versus, okay, this is the day we're going to finish this versus, all right, there is no timeable end to when this task can be done, right? But then that's being able to decipher the long-term and short-term goals that need to be accomplished and executed in that moment versus those things that have that's much more of a pressing issue that needs to be done immediately. And so being expeditiously about those particular tasks, that's important. And for somebody to say time management is not important, clearly knows a thing or two about a chaotic environment where they oftentimes they rarely get any damn sleep when it comes to something like that. And no one can really, a human being can't fully function like that without being burnt out. You know what I mean? So those types of things have to be had. You have to be able to prioritize what's an immediate need versus things that can actually be handled later on. And so all those things group together when it comes to organizational skills and leadership skills from that perspective too, because in order to lead, you have to first follow. And if you don't have following skills, then you're not going to have leadership skills. So the two are synonymous, whether people want to believe it or not. And so I do appreciate you for sharing that. Ashley, for you, with Kamala Harris becoming the first Black woman and the first woman to be elected in the vice presidency seat, just talk a little bit about what that means to you personally and how you think it means when it comes to seeing young Black men, young Black women be able to look on TV and say, that's somebody that looks like me, or that's a dream of mine now to become vice president, or even go a step further, become the president. And now understanding that is now possible. What does it actually mean to you?
I think her representation means everything, and not only speaking for my organization. I think for as Black women as a whole, Black and brown girls as a whole growing up, we need to see it in order to actually believe it.
Yep.
And not saying that the sky has always been the limit, but to see it makes a world of difference. So to me, representation is everything. She represents all of us.
Yep.
She represents the Black woman, and the Black woman is very, very powerful. And I think now she's just given us, she's opened the door.
Yep.
And we're gonna keep going through that door. And I'm so grateful for that because, like I said, we're raising children to be more ambitious, to go after your dreams. You're not bound by constraints of the world or what you don't have these limitations anymore. She has set the precedent to know that we are capable of achieving things that they said we couldn't achieve. Yep. So I'm grateful, and I'm just glad to be a part of it. I'm glad to witness it, and I'm glad to be able to raise a young daughter to be able to, under those constraints, to know that, hey, you can do this. And I'm not just saying that just because it sounds good. It's really possible.
Absolutely.
And so I'm truly grateful for that.
Yeah, and even being a father to a daughter, I definitely took the time to watch that inauguration and watch her be sworn in. it set precedence for me personally to see my daughter look at her, and I'm teaching my daughter that you can do anything you want in life. Don't ever let any man or other woman to tell you that you can't do anything. There is no limit to your potential. You can limit yourself, right? So understand, and I've always lived by this logic too, that this is a man's world but a woman's universe, and there's no limit to a woman's capabilities and potential when it comes to even being leaders. And even from this standpoint, with her being the most powerful woman in the world and the second most powerful seed in the world means a lot too, because it does show that America is a day late and dollar short when it comes to women in leadership roles, because other countries have prime ministers and presidents who are women and running the countries quite well, actually. And so those type of things don't get talked about enough, and it needs to be highlighted and respected in that way, because it talks about just how professional and how great women are in these leadership positions. And so I do appreciate you for sharing that. Ashley, Grandberry, for you, just women, Black women, preferably in politics, what does it mean to have seen this Black woman or this woman become the first woman as the vice president when it comes to setting that precedence, knowing that the very people that came before her set it for her to be in this opportune time and moment? What does it mean for you that to see her or a woman and a Black woman being sworn in this position?
Well, I have a lot to say about this.
Yeah.
We talked about it, and to piggyback off of what Ashley Wood says is because of Kamala Harris now in this country, there is no ceiling. There is no ceiling at all. And then for me, she represents so much. She represents the auntie, because that's what I am. I'm the auntie. I don't, I haven't been, blessed in the husband and the marriage and the children category yet. I'm hoping.
Right. Don't mean you won't.
I'm hoping it happens, but
Yeah.
if it doesn't, I'm okay with it. I've been an aunt since I was 5. So I have a lot of nieces, and they're near and dear to my heart. So to me, she represents the aunt. And then, some things that we don't even highlight enough is she represents the bonus mom, not to say the stepmom, she represents the bonus mom. And, just being able to create a life that you designed. She is a classic representation of what, if everyone embraced feminism, what would actually happen. And like you talked about, other countries who have women who are leading the charge. We talked about this before. The Prime Minister of New Zealand, she's a woman, and New Zealand, they got a handle on COVID from the jump.
Absolutely.
So that makes you think about, had things have went a little bit differently, had Hillary Clinton chosen someone to run with her that was a former opponent, like Joe Biden took that Black woman that was a former opponent of his and actually got the job done. But had Hillary took a different approach, where we have even been in this mess of the pandemic, because it's so much that people don't lay at the foot of 45 that is actually his fault.
Absolutely.
Why this has, taken place across the world. And even just the idea, again, going back to that idea of feminism. And I bet you, if you ask your wife, she knows how to pronounce this African writer's name. And I read her works all the time, but I still haven't never been able to pronounce her name. But I know the last name is Adichie. And she has a quote, and I'm going to read it. It's about feminism. It says, "We teach girls to shrink themselves, to make themselves smaller. We say to girls, you can have ambition, but not too much. You should aim to be successful, but not too successful. Otherwise, you would threaten the man. Because I am female, I am expected to aspire to marriage. I'm expected to make my life choices, always keeping in mind that marriage is the most important. Now, marriage can be a source of joy and love and mutual support. But why do we teach girls to aspire to marriage and we don't teach boys the same? We raise girls to see each other as competitors, not for jobs or accomplishments, which I think can be a good thing, but for the attention of men. We teach girls that they cannot be sexual things in the way the boys are." And Kamala refutes all of that BS. I won't say what it is, but she refutes all of that, because she is a walking embodiment that there is no ceiling. You can do whatever you want, and you can create the life that you want. And she is a walking embodiment of that. And that's what she represents to me. The day that it's two things that I can always remember when it comes down to presidential elections. Lord rest his soul, my father. I remember the day that Barack Obama was elected president, and it's only a few times in my life that I remember my father shedding a tear, and he shed a tear. And I asked him, I said, "Did you think that you would ever see that happen?" And he said, "No, I didn't think I would live to see that happen." He said, "I thought I'd be on the other side of glory before I saw that happen." And then the day that Joe and Kamala won, I was in the, after I'd been in this house running around shouting for a while, I went shopping for furniture, and I had my Delta mask on, and the guy that was selling the furniture asked, "How do you feel since she's not a member of your organization?" I was like, she is a Black woman. I don't care what organization she is a part of. She is a Black woman, and I am proud, and I stand behind her. And she can do no wrong in my eyes at this moment. So I could care less what color she's repping. She's repping the melanin, and that's all that matters. So Kamala represents so much for me, but mostly it's she's a walking embodiment that there is no ceiling, and you can create whatever life it is that you want.
Yep. And and to that point, that quote that you just read is 1,000% true, right? And there was not one lie told in that quote that you just read. And for me, I will say this, it's interesting enough to see these misogynistic, sexist jackasses be on these news channels talking about, anytime they have nothing to say about a Black woman or a woman in general in politics, the first thing they say is she's too ambitious. What the hell does that even fucking mean? Like that's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. Like, what, you want somebody to be half-ass ambitious? You're talking about someone who is going to be basically designated in this particular political position. You need them to be ambitious. You need them to want to get the damn job done expeditiously, right? And so I do appreciate Biden handing over the whole idea of fixing the whole border situation, having Kamala deal with that on her own. And obviously she's going to leave it to the people who are experts in this area, and she's just going to oversee them doing their jobs, right? So it's not going to be kids, separated from their parents versus what happened, in the past few years that we've seen how these kids and how the parents were being handled and being mistreated and things like that in those concentration camps and in those cages. The fact that Kamala Harris has much more decency and humanity to her is going to actually show when it's all said and done, right? And so I do want to make sure that we also are very mindful of the fact that her and Biden just got in the damn office just a couple of months ago.
But they've been getting the job done.
They have. They have been moving.
Simple goals that he set. The $100 million with the. I just got my second vaccine on Friday. I got my second vaccine on Friday.
Yeah, I'm waiting to get mine too. And the fact that he exceeded the expectation of having 100 million people vaccinated in his first 100 days, he did that in 48 days, I think. And so now he's putting a new plan in place to get 100 million more vaccinated within the last few days of those. I think this is the last 50 or so days within that 100-day span, so he can at least have 200 million people or close to that number when it comes to that. And Kamala's been out here working hard to make sure that happens as well. And I appreciate her advocacy for that, and just her work in general so far. Nikki, for you, to see this Black woman sworn in, just the symbolic gesture that it stood for, right? So what does it mean for you or just in general, what does it mean for you as far as the precedence that was set, seeing her sworn in as the most powerful woman in the world, and just what it meant as far as, women or Black women, preferably in politics?
So there's an upside and a downside to going last.
Yeah.
Upside is you get, time to think about what you're going to say. And then the downside is everybody says what you want to say. So on top of everything that you all have said, I would say and add that it was everything. I think for me, the most impactful moment in her process of being sworn in is when my granddaughter stepped in the room and pointed to the TV and was like, "She looks like me.
Yep.
I can do that one day." And I'm like, "You can do whatever you want." And I heard you all say, there's no ceiling, the sky's the limit. But even when I think about the sky, it makes me think about the African-American female astronaut Jameson.
Yep. Mae Jemison. Yep.
What Sky?
Yep. You reach for the stars and you end up on a cloud. You're still on cloud nine. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
those types of things there is definitely to see that you once thought something was impossible. Now it's more possible than it's ever been. And that is something that young Black girls can look forward to now and saying, I can literally do anything I want now. There are no boundaries to what I can do. And more of those barriers are being broken every single day when you see more and more Black women and more women in general advocating for each other and breaking those sexist and misogynistic barriers every single day. So I do appreciate you saying that and the fact that she's been, living that since she's been in office. Ashley Wood, Ms. Woods, for you, and this is a more personal question when it comes to your organization. What community service initiative resonates with you the most about your organization?
One thing that Alpha Kappa Alpha has always stressed, one of our, our main goals since always been the well-being of the woman.
Yeah.
Woman well-being, making sure, our health is intact, whether it be, one of our big initiatives is breast cancer awareness, mental well-being, something that's not talked about a lot in the Black community. I think it's more of an open dialogue now, more so than even when I was an undergrad. So that's one thing that I'm happy to see a lot of the undergrads, they're taking on that initiative a little more. Our focus was mainly breast cancer awareness, which is very, common in African American women. And I think just raising awareness for early detection and things like that was one of the things that we pushed. But I just think overall, the well-being of the woman, because we take on so much. Absolutely. And I think we do it without thinking, it's just second nature to us, but we get tired. Yep. We need help, even though we feel like, and God made us strong. He made us from a cloth that is definitely different. Yep. But we also still get tired. So I think that, that initiative, just taking on the mental health aspect, just making sure that that's something that's talked about, because it's something that has been swept under the rug so much in the African American community. And I think that I'm just very grateful that that's being brought to light, and it's being not forced to be talked about, but it's an open conversation is being had for that. And it's making people more comfortable to talk about it and not feel ashamed, because it's nothing to feel ashamed about.
Yep. Yeah.
So I just think, personally, I think that those are great initiatives. I think breast cancer will always be, one that drives home. You have a lot of different breast cancer initiatives, but I just really appreciate the mental health aspect that has been, really brought to light and being made a little more public and making people a little more comfortable, because it's a conversation that has, like I said, has been swept under the rug and it needs to be talked about.
Yep, absolutely. And you know what, to quote one of the most famous quotes that's being used in regards to mental health is it's okay to not be okay, right? Mm-hmm. Understand you're going to have rough days in the world. You're going to have rough moments in your life that you go through. And it's okay to go through those things, right? But not let it just sink in so much to where you're sitting in that and you remain in that. A bouncing ball, when you bounce a ball, it goes and hit the ground and it comes back up too. In order to get knocked down, you got to get up. You know what I mean? So those types of things resonate with me personally when it comes to mental health. And I do like the fact that it's being brought to the forefront a lot more now. And I really do hope that it's not necessarily a trend, but more so a movement when it comes to being able to express exactly what we're going through on an everyday basis. Because again, as Black people, we're walking PTSD. You know what I mean? And those types of things that we deal with on an everyday basis, it's truly exhausting sometimes to just wake up being a Black man or a Black woman every single day and having to deal with the issues of the world on top of still dealing with issues professionally, still having to have a professionalism about yourself where it's your emotions and your feelings are not showing when it comes to the very things that's affecting you in everyday life when it comes to being Black. And so, yeah, mental health is definitely something that's being talked about a lot more. People are expressing themselves and being able just to release a lot of that emotional trauma and tension that's been holding them down for so many years. And so Yeah, that's a huge thing to be an advocate for, and I do appreciate you for sharing that. Ms. Grandberry, for you, what community service initiative about Delta resonates with you the most?
Probably our voter registration initiatives. Whether we're on foot, in certain neighborhoods. One of the first things I did, years and years ago now, seems like it was being in South Memphis and handing out voter registration cards and making arrangements for certain elderly people to get picked up on certain days and go into polls and things of that nature. Just that grassroots on the ground, feet on the ground. um it resonates with me. And now having heard this BS that's going on in Georgia, where you can't even quote unquote give someone some water as they're in line to vote, it just, it really makes me mad. Even though I'm not in Georgia, I'm in Tennessee, but it can also set a precedence for absurdity, and they could pass that mess up here.
Yep.
And you don't want that to happen. And so just my organizations, the work that we've done when it comes to voter registration drive and getting people the correct information out there, because there's so many people who don't even know that once you get out of prison, or you do your sentence or whatever it may be, that you can get your rights back, things like that. And Delta it's been one of those, there's been one of those organizations that's been on the front lines when it comes down to making sure people have adequate information about their rights as American citizens. So that's one of the things that just resonate with me the most. And you don't have to there's many cogs in that wheel. You can, be a person that provides transportation. You can be a person that provides voter registration cards and information. You can be a person that would literally be out there with water, and providing that service. And that this past weekend, all of that information coming out about the state of Georgia is just absurd. And I hope that the organization that Stacey Abrams and the people that she's working with, I hope they sue the freaking pants off of them.
Absolutely.
And they get all of everything that they are now trying to overturn. I hope it's all wiped out. And I hope Georgia turns so blue that it bleeds into Florida, bleeds into any Alabama, any neighboring state. Just because you all have shown how ignorant and how hateful you are, just because things did not go your way. You cannot take away our rights just because things didn't go your way. That's not the definition of a democracy.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And it's crazy how they're so bitter, right? They're so fucking mad at a lie that's been told to them time and time again. You lost the damn election. No one stole anything from you.
But they mad about Kamala. They mad about Kamala. The main thing that you have to understand, I'm getting on my soapbox here, I'm gonna get off here in a minute, is those 8 years that black man was in the White House, and he did a good job, and he had no scandal. It was no real dirt that you could put up behind. It drove them crazy because
it refuted something.
Every
damn suit.
Yeah, it refuted every single negative thing that you put out about us. Those 8 years drove you crazy about that black man with his black wife and his black babies and their black excellence, that you had to go out and create the antithesis, which is Trump, because everything that Obama is, Trump is the opposite of. You had to go out and get the antithesis and just throw it in there. You know what I'm saying? Just, you know how your grandmama said, you just throw anything together. They just threw it in there. And he was in there for 4 years just throwing mess together. And you just thought because it's white, it's gotta be right. And here we go. And so you can't have your way. And now you're gonna take our rights away. It was a tweet that went up today. I can't remember exactly who posted the tweet, but I retweeted it and I put it on my Facebook stories so you'll see it. It says, the black vote saved America. Now it's time for America to save the black vote, because they trying to say
They really are. And you know what? They're pulling out all stops to try to sit here and just basically take away our rights to vote, because we showed up in record numbers. It had never been this many people in this country to ever vote, ever in the however many, 200 some years that it's been allowing citizens of this country to vote. It's never been this many people that turned out to vote, and Black people, preferably, especially in this state of Georgia, showed out in large numbers. Preferably in the state that in the county that I live in, we showed the hell out, and we showed up in big numbers and made sure that Kamala and Biden solidified their spots in that new administration and for the next 4 years. And so to see Georgia turn blue when that was something that was so unprecedented, that because we never thought of all the years we've been alive and will be alive, that a state like Georgia would turn blue. Now, and it even gives us even the possibility to think that maybe some of these other southern states will turn blue. Now, I know for a fact Mississippi ain't gonna be one of them.
But it
Probably not Texas. Probably not. And Alabama won't ever be.
I could see it for Mississippi, because Mississippi is extremely Black. But the problem is, I think
it's deeply rooted with that white. And again, they just recently took the damn Confederacy flag off their state flag logo. They just did that just a year or two ago. So the fact that we're just now getting to that place, we got a long way to go. A long ass way to go when it comes to trying to make Mississippi blue. So let's not even go that far. We'll stick to Georgia being blue.
I'm gonna keep hope alive.
Knocking us off. Yeah, I will too.
I'm gonna keep hope alive.
Black power.
Absolutely. But to have Warnock and Ossoff be the representatives of this state, and they're both Democrats, that sets a true precedence for what Georgia will ultimately become if we continue to fight. And I want to make sure I point this out real quick too about Delta Sigma Theta, because Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, who is a member of Delta Sigma Theta, her sorority sisters here in Atlanta showed up hugely when it came to voter registration, making sure they basically teach and educate people on their voting rights in general. And so her and Stacey Abrams, who did a tremendous job with registering over 800,000 people in the state of Georgia alone, making sure that they were registered to vote, not telling them which side to vote for.
Exactly, because they could have very well voted for
their voting right.
You don't know that.
Absolutely.
You just don't want us to vote, period. So you maneuver things in your favor.
Yep. And I thought,
so Republicans don't even care about white people. All they care about is money. Because if they cared about white people, they would do something about these guns.
Yep.
I'm done.
Yep. And they really, that's another story for another day, because the gun situation, oh my God. I mean,
not going down there red hole.
We're just, this is just, we're seeing record numbers of shootings happen throughout the entire damn country. And yet these damn idiots are justifying these violent acts as happening, saying that, oh, well, this would one particular person, especially here in Atlanta, one of the police officers claimed that this white guy just had a fucking bad day and killed 8 people, 6 of them being Asian women at massage parlors. So imagine how many bad days we have as Black people. So we supposed to just set that aside because he had the worst day. First off, your day couldn't even amount to any damn day the average Black person goes through on an every damn day basis. So the nerve of you to sit up here and say that, but no, I'm sorry, to have someone say that for you, who's a police officer in charge of the whole entire investigation, saying something stupid like that, only to find out that very police officer was going around selling COVID-19 was started in China t-shirts and was found out about on social media. The nerve of these jackasses coming out here, basically outing themselves, making themselves look even dumber than what they already look. But to sit up here and say that, oh, we don't know what a hate crime is, when it's clear and evident that he was targeting a specific group of people. And if you don't even want to say that's a hate crime, right? Okay, against Asians. All right, for shits and giggles, we'll entertain it for a split second. But he killed women though. So we're not going to even list that as a hate crime. A man killing 8 women, that's still a hate crime. Whether you want to even throw in their nationality or ethnicity or not, their gender alone makes it a hate crime. If we can't even define it as a damn hate crime, I don't know what the hell a hate crime is.
Benson and Stabler would have put it as a hate crime.
I mean, it's crazy though, but yeah, to see that women like Stacey Abrams and Keisha Bottoms, who are making sure that they fight tooth and nail with these dumbass Republican politicians here in the state of Georgia to make sure that we're able to reserve our rights, because damn it. And I try to tell people, especially Black people who aren't quite educated on the whole voting system in general, if our votes didn't fucking matter, they wouldn't be going through so much shit to suppress our votes.
Mhm.
That says something, and that should say something to every single Black person who's eligible to vote. The fact that they're going through all these extreme measures to stop us from voting and stop us from voting in large numbers. That should say something to you, and why we should continue on to fight together. So I do appreciate you for bringing it up. Nikki, for you, what community service initiative resonates with you the most about your organization?
Before I move into that, let me just make 2 quick points.
Yeah.
One, I wanted to say, ladies, those initiatives are very, very, very powerful.
Yes.
And 2, when things that's going on around you are impactful. Literally just the other day, I had a dream that my oldest son had an encounter with the police. And I remember vividly in this dream, I've always taught my son, I don't care, just respect them. Yes, no.
Yeah.
Let me deal with them. I promise you I'll deal with them. Just let me deal with them. But in the time being, I need you alive.
Yeah.
Just respect them, do as they ask you, and I'll handle it. But I remember in this dream, I just kept saying over and over, but officer, he had a bad day. He just had a bad day. He just had a bad day. And I woke up like, what the hell? Like that just hit my heart. I just kept saying he had a bad day. He just had a bad day.
How many bad days do we have a damn week?
Oh,
We ain't picking up no damn gun to go kill nobody.
Exactly. And it wasn't, guns or nothing was involved in this dream. It was just, they were I remember them going back and forth, and the officer, was getting heated. And I just remember putting my hands like, officer, he just had a bad day. He just had a bad day. And I woke up out of my sleep saying he had a bad day. I'm like, wow. And of course it tied back into what you all were just talking about.
Yeah.
And even our initiative as the Zeta, we recently honed the initiative of domestic violence.
Yeah.
So that's what stands out and resonates the most with me. Is very, very unfortunate. For me, it's personal.
Yeah.
Because as a survivor of domestic violence, it's something that I truly, truly, truly have a compassion to get involved with and continue to help people along the way. I can't tell you, I can't count on your hands, fingers, toes, minds, and your neighbors how many safety plans I've had to help develop, including mine.
Yeah.
Hiding documentation in lockers at my job, just for that, waiting on that day, to get away. Calling the police, on there. I never called the police. I was always scared of what the aftermath would be. I knew that piece of paper may or may not matter.
Yeah.
But I promise you today, I said, God, it's in your hands. You said you got me. Was the day I was able to literally get up, walk away, and never went back.
Absolutely.
And that was back in 2008. He hasn't even said 2 words to me today, and I'm grateful for that. That's fine.
Absolutely.
Praise God for that. So with this initiative, when it first came, I thought I was joining as a committee member, and found out that I was actually going to be the state co-coordinator, for the domestic violence. I was like, wow, God, when you say you lead my path,
Yep.
I've been looking and searching for the right platform to be able to speak to these people, the survivors who've gone through this. And he opened that door. Since then, I've led walks, I've done so many things in regards to domestic violence, and there's so much more that I want to do. So just being a part of Zeta and the organization, again, setting that platform, giving me the ability to continue to reach out and help the community, and let these women and men know we can get through this.
Absolutely.
Together we can. And you have someone that's been there. I'm not just speaking off the top of my head, I'm speaking from experience.
Yeah.
So it really strikes me when people say you could have just left. No, if I could have just left, I may have just left.
Exactly.
I will never tell someone to leave their spouse. You will know.
Yeah.
Or you'll be forced to.
Yep.
I'm just going to give you the skills, the resources, and make myself available, and definitely keeping myself safe in the process. So again, being a Zeta and that initiative that resonates the most is definitely domestic violence. Just look at the world. Look what's going on.
Yeah.
I was just sharing, just over the last month, it's been at least 5 domestic violence killings.
Yeah.
At least right here in St. Louis.
Man.
Right here in St. Louis, at least.
So unfortunate.
I think since we last talked, it was 2 more.
Mm.
Wow. And you know what?
And these are mother and kids. You're killing kids on top of that.
And one of the most unfortunate things about just domestic violence in general, I go back to something that Ashley Grandberry quoted, and when it comes to just the idea of having to cater to a man's, ego, or be able to water down yourself just to appease him, right? So the thing about that when it comes to domestic violence, we do oftentimes tell our young girls to do this and do that, but not put enough emphasis on what the boys should be doing. Right. And even when it comes to those domestic situations, we're telling a woman, oh, just leave, leave, leave. How about explaining and fucking teaching the damn boys how to fucking be men before they get to this point, and even putting their hands on a woman or on their children in that way, or even verbally abusing them too, because that's a form of domestic violence as well.
Emotional.
Exactly. But belittling somebody, that's a form of, that's domestic violence as well, because you're abusing someone verbally, that tears them down too. And sometimes your words can do much more damage than the physical harm that you bestow on someone. So those types of things resonate with me in such a way that we have to do much more when it comes to advocating for boys to become men and be respectable men, respecting women, valuing women's lives, and valuing their children's lives too, because your kids see everything, and they're like sponges. They're going to soak up all of that. When they see at an early age that dad don't respect mom and he's doing all this to mom, then sometimes ultimately those very patterns that they saw as a child, they end up growing into that very thing. They end up growing into the very thing they saw at an early age that they had no business seeing in the first place. It should never took place in the house. And so we have to do much better with normalizing a very loving, caring, and structural relationship when it comes to our family, our Black families, especially, because these are the type of things that are going to resonate with our children, that mom loves dad, dad loves mom, and they're taking care of each other. They respect each other. They may have disagreements, and it's okay, but it's respectfully disagreed upon, regardless of what that situation is. And a boy or a girl, for that matter, should never put their hands on each other. It should never result to physical violence. I don't care what the hell the situation is. There is no legitimate reason why it should result to that, especially if you calling yourself a person who loves this person. So those types of things need to be talked about a hell of a lot more. And I do appreciate your advocacy for that too, because that is a paramount of importance as well. Circling back around to you, Ashley Woods, in comparison to the level of impact and influence that sororities have had during the civil rights movement, during women's suffrages, how influential has sororities been to your point of view, or just in your perspective when it comes to Black Lives Matter and the Me Too movement? How would you say sororities have been influential in those movements today?
I think it goes back even into, like you said, the civil rights era.
Yeah.
A lot of the, main influencers of the civil rights era were members of Greek organizations.
Yep.
And, not that those affiliations, persuaded their movement. I think it was just a personal, call on that, but just seeing that, they were leaders and, they were a part of these organizations, and they took a stance on things that, I'm saying, it set the groundwork for us to be able to do what we're doing now.
Yeah.
And of course, in time, history repeats itself, and here we are now with the Black Lives Matter.
Absolutely.
We do, within our organizations, we have an obligation, whether it's, it's not necessary. Sometimes things can get it can get political. Yep. With, actual organizations. But I think as members, we have an obligation to speak out, use our platform through these organizations to, to speak out on these different things. I think Black Lives Matter has a good traction, has a good movement.
Yep.
And it's starting the conversation. It's not, they're trying so hard to sweep it under the rug. Yep. But we're not going to allow that. I think we're a little more forceful, and we're more bold in our efforts to speak out to what's right and what's wrong. And I don't even think it necessarily, it's not just us within Greek-led organizations. It's Black people in general. We're just tired. We're it's just to the point where we have to do something. We're backed against the corner. And not necessarily fighting back, but we're finding the tools to be able to speak out and we're not going to allow this to be okay.
Absolutely.
So I think as, you know, us having, you know, our organizations, you know, as a platform, we have to use that, whether it's, you know, within, you know, a mandated program within our organizations, or just being in our organizations and having that traction and that platform. A lot of people, you know, that, you know, follow us or look up to us, we have to speak out.
Yep.
Because you don't know who's listening or who you are inspiring. So I think we just have to be vocal, especially in this, because it's not going to stop.
Yeah, very much so, especially to the point about the very opportunity that we have today, right? We've gained so much momentum when it comes to the Black Lives Matter movement, when it comes to Me Too, when it comes to other different movements that are advocating for us to be labeled, it's giving us an equal playing field when it comes to just society in general, right? So I do appreciate how sororities have been playing such a huge role when it comes to, just in comparison to how much influential they were during the civil rights movement, during women's suffrages. I remember reading a lot of different things about sororities in general and just Black women overall during those times, speaking up and speaking out, using their voice. And now today in 2021, we are able to say that our voice carries a hell of a lot of weight, a hell of a lot more weight than ever it carried before. So we have an obligation to continuously speaking out and using our platforms as strongly as possible and being monolithic in that effort to bring forth equality on all facets, regardless of race, regardless of gender, regardless of political views or even religious views for that matter. So I do appreciate you for bringing that up. Ms. Grandberry, for you, how impactful has sororities been today compared to yesteryear when it comes to the civil rights movement and women's suffrages versus Me Too and Black Lives Matter?
Well, a lot of what Ashley said, I definitely support it 100%. And the way I look at things, like, I don't think that we're more polarized or more impactful. I look at it like the civil rights and suffrage movement had a baby, and their baby had a baby, and that baby is Black Lives Matter, Me Too, and the feminist movement. I just think like now we have more ways and avenues of getting our point across.
Absolutely.
We may not be able to be Dorothy Height. But we can be that person, that gatekeeper of knowledge to provide some type of platform or information for those that are watching us to get the proper information. Your role may not be to be on the front lines marching, but your role may be to be a modern day Ida B. Wells and get that literature out. And now if you're able to get it out faster, and it's more exactly, when you write a tweet, it's gone, it's there. When you send a blog out, like even with your podcast, once you get the editing done, you can immediately send it out and it's on several platforms. So I don't think of us being as more impactful. I think that we're just a little bit more, we have more organization and more tools. That's the way that I look at it, because we all stand on each other's shoulders.
Absolutely.
Regardless of the organization colors that you wear, things of that nature. I mean, going even back to Kamala. Kamala stands on the shoulders of Shirley Chisholm.
Yep, absolutely. Fannie Lou Hamer. Yep. Absolutely.
That's the way that I look at it, and that's the way that I see it. And everybody has their part to play. A woman can't be empowered if she's not healthy. From the initiative that Ashley spoke about, a woman can't be empowered if she's not mentally there and physically there, from the initiative that Nikki talked about. And a woman can't be empowered if she doesn't have a voice through voting, which is what I spoke about. So that's the way I look at things.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you think about it, there was a point when women were silenced
Yeah.
versus being silent, right? So
Mhm.
the two obviously are different. So being silence is the ability to not be able to talk because someone or some entity has forced you to not talk at all, not speak about anything, versus choosing to not say a word about something, right? Being silent. So those two different things obviously resonate with me when it comes to the overall platform that we have. So we are very, very, very much so more accessible when it comes to information. Social media has tremendously exacerbated the idea of being able to use our voice in such a way that it is polarizing and it's being heard on multiple avenues, on multiple social media platforms. We're able to get that information out. And to your point, Ms. Grandberry, about this podcast, the whole premise of this podcast is to be able to help provide information by talking to Black men and women who are in these same trenches, who are in these same struggles, who are in these everyday situations that we oftentimes go through as Black people as a whole. So that way we can obviously come up with ways to get through those everyday situations. We can obviously come together and collectively come up with the different jobs that we ultimately need to have, because every last one of us play a part in where we go as a race, as a community. And so if one person is not doing their part, that one person is doing a complete disservice to themselves and to the rest of the damn race. So we have to understand how important it is and how imperative it is for us to understand and be educated on what our roles are, because we all have roles, whether it's great or small, and there are multiple roles that we may all share too. So there's no one role that fixes everything. There's no one organization that can fix it all either. We have to collectively be monolithic and be understanding of each other's roles, so that way we're not stepping on each other's toes and we're making sure the work is being done. Because the last thing we need to be doing is passing on these same damn issues to the next generation.
Yeah.
That we're dealing with situations from the past, dealing with present issues too. We can't deal with all this shit at once. We need to be dealing with our own generational issues at that given moment in time versus having to deal with the past and the present in the future. That makes entirely no sense when you think about it from a time perspective. It's not even enough goddamn time in the day to deal with every issue, right? So we have to be able to understand what our roles are when it comes to that and being able to execute that collectively together. So I appreciate you saying that. Nikki, for you, in comparison to just the influence that sororities and women, Black women preferably played in the civil rights movement and women suffragists, how does it differ or even compare to where we are today when it comes to Black Lives Matter and the Me Too movement?
You know, it's definitely out there. In addition to what you all said, you know, the presence is known, and I'll just keep it simple by really just saying a couple of cliches, which is your voice is your choice.
Yep.
If you don't speak on it, no one is going to hear you. It's like that, use it or lose it. And when I tie the civil rights to the Black Lives Matter movement, it makes me think of Emmett Till and Trayvon Martin.
Yep.
They were both young Black youth. They were both visiting a community, and both of their murderers were acquitted. Absolutely. You know, so now in connection is just like, say something, because saying nothing is saying something. Yep. Believe it or not.
Yep. Making that choice to not do anything is a choice that you're making, right? So, and we're now in a position where being ignorant is no longer a goddamn excuse. It's not enough to not know now. It's too much access to information that's out here for you not to know what is currently going on and what can ultimately affect you too. So, and that's holding each other accountable, right? So accountability is something that it's not being had enough when it comes to us holding each other accountable. And holding each other accountable doesn't necessarily mean, you know, you being canceled, right? So obviously cancel culture versus consequence culture gets mixed and tangled up entirely too goddamn much for me. And I know that there's a huge difference, but we have to be able to draw the line and understand what those differences are. So that way it can be identified to everyone collectively. Okay, you can get canceled for this shit versus, all right, you made a stupid mistake. You said something stupidly, right? The things that Stacey Dash has done. She can't really come back. Personally, for me, she can't come back from that because you sat here and was a pawn on that damn racist ass chessboard of Trump's, and you advocated for him, claiming that there should be no Black History Month, claiming there should be a White History Month, claiming that there's no use for BT or NAACP when you have been a damn recipient of both of them. Like, how dare you sit up here and disrespect the very idea or entity that we created, and the premise that we created it on was because we weren't allowed in their shit. We did these things. Our organizations, holistically, our organizations in the Divine Nine was created under the idea and the pretense that, hey, we are not accepted in yours. So guess what? We're going to start our own. And you didn't like that either. So we carried on roughly on average over 100 years now. And we've been going strong when it comes to advocating for the very issues that we've been fighting against for the last 100 years or so, when it comes to being able to service our Black community. My last question to you guys is a more personal question as well. So, Ms. Woods, for you, when it comes to being monolithic, being together, being unified, all that good stuff, what more can we all do together? When I say we all, when it comes to sororities specifically, right? What more can sororities do together versus what you all do individually?
Piggybacking on what Ashley Grandberry said, one of their big initiatives is voter registration.
Yeah.
We came out and we made things happen with this last election.
Yep.
It shook them. That's why we're going through what we're going through now with Georgia.
Yep.
So I think we need to keep that momentum. We got to keep it going. We got to make sure that everybody, whatever they throw at us, we got to be ready for it. Absolutely. If this stuff sticks in Georgia, we got to be prepared to make sure our people are prepared for that. And make sure that, it's not a form of, even though it is a form of voter suppression, we got to make sure that, we can do whatever we can to make sure we still have as many people as we can eligible to still vote.
Absolutely.
And so I think that just keeping that momentum going, and we did the same when Barack was elected.
Yep.
We are better together than we are apart.
Absolutely.
So just keeping that momentum, being, by Kamala being a representation not only of my organization, but as a Black woman as a whole, that's all we need. And we just need to keep that momentum, keep going, whatever we can do to keep pressing forward, to keep those type of things happening. Yep. Like I said, no ceilings.
Absolutely. And
so I just think it's more of just a momentum thing. Just keep doing what we're doing now.
Yeah, because we've gained tremendous momentum, especially in the wake of Breonna Taylor's death and George Floyd's death as well. Mm-hmm. We have been, the silver lining in dealing with this pandemic is that everyone had to deal and see this in real time. And so I'm just flabbergasted at the fact that white people are saying, oh my God, I can't believe Black people are being treated like this. Well, where the fuck you been? We've been telling you this all this time. You thought we were making this up? Like, you can't make up the shit we go through. Yeah. Like, you really cannot write enough books to even tell a story about an everyday Black man and woman and what we go through on an everyday basis. And so for me to see them see that now, I'm just saying, okay, well, welcome to the party, but you a couple damn days late now. I was short. Like, I mean, absolutely. Where you been? But I'm glad you're here. And now that you're here, it's time to put your white privilege and purview in jeopardy in order to make things equal for all of us.
Right.
If you're not going to do that, then we had nothing to talk about, period. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and one of my last things I want to say too, in regards to giving much more credit to Black women, right? Black women have been on record doing the most with the least. Mm-hmm. The fact, and they've been doing the best they can with the least as well. And the fact that it's been so great that we are advocating for it even more because we understand. And many men like myself understand the power of the Black woman and the value of her. She is the queen on that chessboard that has to be protected at all costs. And if we're not doing that, then we're doing a disservice to ourselves and to her as well. Ms. Grandberry, for you, what can be done collectively? What can we do collectively more together?
I would just say, celebrate each other as much as we possibly can.
Absolutely.
Keep the foot on the gas when it comes to the momentum and celebrating the accomplishments that we make. Each organization is unique for certain things, and then having been across this country, I'm starting to realize certain organizations are unique in certain regions for certain things.
Absolutely.
So definitely celebrate one another more. I honestly feel like the whole, myth of the rivalries is kind of dying down, and it needs to die down because it really has no purpose at all.
Just different types.
So definitely celebrate one another. You know, if you see one organization doing something and they doing well, shout them out, shoot them out, you know, whatever the best way to say it, get them a shout out, whatever you want to say. Celebrate one another. Like I said, long as Kamala wears melanin and she doing the damn thing, there's nothing that I got to say anything about. I'm not upset, hating, or in any type of manner. I'm going to, you know, celebrate her. I love the fact on the inaugural day that everyone sported their pearls and their chucks. Not me, I don't wear chucks, they're too flat for me, but I sported my church, my pearls, and you know, all four of us were pearls. So, you know, that was definitely something that was unifying at that moment. So just support each other more. Again, Nikki, I think I said this to you the last time. I hate that COVID jacked y'all centennial.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you know, you all get a do-over and you will get celebrated. I know the men are going to celebrate you because they did for us every night. They celebrated us. Yep. So, you know, we need to celebrate each other as well. So I hope that we have our hands in that initiative when the do-over occurs. I really hope that you all are able to do the do-over. And Rihanna wasn't here today, but you know, it'll be a proud day next year when Sigma Gamma Rho gets to celebrate their centennial. So definitely just celebrate each other more. We're all unique. Use whatever gift that we have, because we all in this together.
We all need to be one accord on that too. And you know what? There's nothing more beautiful about a Black woman than to see her adjusting another Black woman's crown. That is a very beautiful sight to see. When all the jealousy, the envy, all the hating, all the ratchetness is all set to the side, and it's not in any way to slight anyone when it comes to that stuff. Now, a lot of that bullshit is entertainment, but I don't find it to be entertaining or funny at all personally. And I feel like there's a time and place for all of it, right? And it couldn't be every damn time and every damn place. But my thing is to see Black women, like you said, celebrating each other, and just in general, not even just from an organizational standpoint, but just celebrate each other, readjusting each other's crown, being there in support of each other, advocating for each other. I love to see that every single day, just as much I love seeing Black men, you know, respecting and loving each other and giving mad respect to each other as well, because that's not being shown enough on media outlets or, you know, TV series or movies for that matter. We're seeing some of the same stuff over and over again, and it's not the more positive things that need to be highlighted and celebrated enough. So I do appreciate that, with you speaking on that, and definitely look forward to celebrating, you know, Zeta Phi Beta as well as Sigma Gamma Rho too, because again, I always tell people we're not Greek. We are all different branches on the same tree, right? So we obviously do have different principles and different objectives, but the main goal is that brotherhood and that sisterhood, and above all else, community service. If we're not servicing the very community we come from, then why the hell we even put it in our damn initiative statement? You know what I mean? So that speaks volumes. Nikki, for you, what can be done more together?
I think definitely being a part of the NPHC is a way to bridge that gap. You know, it allows us the opportunity to continue to embrace one another, love one another, and most definitely empower one another. Yep. And one of the most powerful statements is there's always power in numbers, always. Mm-hmm. You know, if we're unified, that's just the better we're going to be. Mm-hmm. And I do have a quick quote that I wanted to end with on that note. Mm-hmm. And it says, "I am only one, but I am one. I cannot do everything, but I can do something. And I will not let what I cannot do interfere with what I can do." Be the change that you want to see, and just do it.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that statement. That quote is 100% facts as well, because we do oftentimes get too discouraged or get too hung up on or fixated on the very things that we can't do. But let's focus more on the things that we can do and the things that we are doing, right? We need to put more attention on the things that we have been doing right. Oftentimes we talk a lot about what we're doing wrong or what we're not doing at all, but guess what? There's always room for improvement. There's always more to be done. Until we're at an equal playing field, we got some Black folk, we got some shit to do. We got work to do. So I'm gonna see you at work, right? So yeah, I do appreciate your take on that too. And I want to in this episode, on this quote. So USA Today quoted this article, and I want to read just a snippet of the article that I saw that stood out to me. So 85% of Fortune 500 executives were part of Greek life. The first female astronaut was Greek. So was the first female senator, and now having the first female vice president. Right? So, and college graduation rates are 20% higher among Greeks than non-Greeks. Those numbers and just that quote alone speaks volumes to me in such a way that it shows that the relevancy of our organizations, preferably or sororities for that matter, it still stands today. It still stands long and tall today, even after on an average of 100 years that sororities have been existing. Black sororities, preferably, have been existing. It shows that we are still more prevalent in today's time, just as much, maybe not in certain cases as much as we were 100 years ago, but we're still fighting the same fights we were fighting then, right? We're still fighting the same three fights. It's Black people fighting the right to be free, the right to be Black, and the right to even be human. So however way you want to categorize or list that in whatever order you want, go right ahead. But those are the same three fights we've been fighting for over 400 years. And until we win those fights, we're going to keep fighting, bottom line. So on that note, I want to just say from the bottom of my heart, I really thank you, Black women, for being on the show, sharing your perspectives on these different issues that we're discussing, making sure that we're able to put this kind of information out so people who are both Greek and non-Greek can take from this and say, you know what, this inspired me. Maybe if it didn't inspire you to even be Greek, it inspired you to want to do more than what you're doing when it comes to helping adhere to the very issues that we're dealing with as Black people in our Black community. So from that standpoint, I really appreciate your insight and perspectives on these very topics. I hope that you guys are staying very much so safe and sanitized during this pandemic. We're almost at the very tail end of this. Hopefully we can continue on making progress when it comes to the vaccination and everyone, making sure that they're still maintaining their safety measures, social distancing, all that good stuff. And yeah, be sure to tell all your sorority sisters, all your LSs and all that good stuff to make sure they tune in, like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel, as well as my podcast on Spotify. For more content, definitely let me know. Reach out to me personally. Let me know what you think about the shows as they come out, because the more I issue out more thought-provoking content, I want to make sure I'm very much so mindful of the very issues that need to be talked about and making sure that I'm zoning in on those very topics. And also looking for feedback from everyone who tunes in, all of my followers and listeners. Make sure you email me at speaktothemic.podcast@gmail.com. You can reach me directly. Let me know what you think about the show. Let me know if you have any questions that you would like for me to ask any of my panel guests that I have on the show as it pertains to certain topics. And again, ladies, thank you all for your time, and we definitely will be circling back.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye, y'all.
For the opportunity. Bye, guys.
All right. If you like what you've heard from this week's episode and would like to hear more from previous episodes, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel below. You can also find me on social media platforms at SpeakToTheMic_podcast show on Instagram and Speak to the Mic podcast show on Facebook. Be sure to also like, share, and subscribe to my Spotify page at Speak to the Mic podcast show. As I put out more thought-provoking content, your opinion and thoughts are needed and appreciated. I thank you all in advance for your support and look forward to hearing from you soon.